Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel today. And this is going to be a great one, okay? Because I'm actually going to show you 8 make.com automations that is truly going to change how you work in the automation field, if that's what you want to do, or if you want to get familiar with AI, with automations, this is the video for you, okay? So let's just dive right in. So first up, we have the AI Blogger, okay? And this creates blog content, but it does it on autopilot using AI, okay? So the first module here takes trending news items. This could be blog posts, this could be BBC News articles, it could be Quora, Reddit, Medium, you name it. It doesn't matter, right? Then it plugs it into a AI module from Perplexity. So Perplexity is an AI search engine, and I use it to summarize the article, okay? That's the first pass. The next 4 modules are ChatGPT from OpenAI. The first one will create the hook, okay? The second one creates the blog post. The third one creates an image prompt that I plug into the last module, which is the generated image using DALL-E 3, okay? So it will create the image. And then it saves everything into Airtable. And this is, for the most part, automated. The only thing you have to do is approve the post in Airtable, set the status to approved, at which point there's a second part of the automation which watches the records in Airtable. If it sees the approved status, it will then post it into WordPress, okay? The next one is a LinkedIn post generator. So for this, I'm using a couple of tools. The first one is Phantom Buster. And the reason I use Phantom Buster is because you can actually extract posts from a series of profiles, okay? So you can plug in a bunch of profiles, and you can do this on like a CSV file. So you can use Google Sheets. And then in column A, you can just have a bunch of profiles that you want to repurpose, okay? Then it grabs the data from the Phantom. So Phantom is Phantom Buster's way of explaining a scraper. And then it plugs it into 2 ChatGPT modules here, okay? The first one is going to create the hook, because if you know anything about copywriting, you know that the hook is the most important part of it, okay? If the hook doesn't make any sense, if it's not clickbaity enough, they're just not going to click on it, right? Which means that the post, the actual LinkedIn article, is going to be a waste of time. Then you want to create the post, at which point, as you can see, I love Airtable and I save everything inside of Airtable, okay? And again, you can just go have a status field in Airtable. You can have a follow-up automation that watches the records inside of the Airtable. If it sees a status that's approved, you can then post it into LinkedIn. You could do it through the API. I personally don't do that. I copy and paste the content from Airtable into LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever social media platform, because I think you just get better results, okay? The third automation is the same as the LinkedIn one, but this is for Twitter and Twitter or X, okay? It does the same thing again. It uses a Phantom inside of Phantom Buster. And again, it creates the hook using OpenAI's ChatGPT, and it creates a tweet, okay? Now, obviously, when you're building an automation for Twitter, you just got to bear in mind that there is a character limit. Now, if you have the premium version of Twitter, then obviously you can have more characters. But if you're on the basic plan, or if you're not paying for Twitter premium, then you're going to get like 128 characters, okay? So just bear that in mind and build that into the prompts. Once you're happy with the output, you just save it into Airtable. I mean, you can post it directly through to Twitter using the Twitter API. I personally don't recommend that, because I think that you want to have a human element. You want to have a human gatekeeper that looks at the content, okay? Because remember, if you are posting on Twitter, if you are posting on LinkedIn, this information, this content is going out to real people. Real people are going to see this, right? Now, AI is great. Don't get me wrong. I use it for everything that I do, but I want to make sure that at least I get to see it. I see it, I approve it, and it's the same process. I've set up a status field in the table on Airtable. Once it's set to approved, it will then trigger another part of the automation, which is a second automation, which will then watch records inside of Airtable and post it onto Twitter. The next automation is a sales call review. Okay, so I take a lot of calls with clients, so with prospects. And for the most part, I want to have my hands free so I can pay attention to the call, right? Like I want to be giving my attention, like I'm giving my attention to you recording this video. I want to give my attention to my clients, right? I want to make sure that I give them the best possible interaction that I can. And to do that, I need to be focused on the call. I cannot be making notes. And in fact, I'm not really good note taker, right? I scribble, I can't understand what I've written, I miss things out. And in 2025, you don't need to be taking notes because there are note-taking apps and services that you can use, okay? So in this automation, I'm actually using a tool called Fireflies.ai. So Fireflies is they give you, I think, like 100 credits per month, and you can actually plug it into Make.com, okay? And you can connect it up to your Zoom or your Google Meet account, okay? Then it will transcribe the actual call, and then it plugs it into two modules here. This again is ChatGPT from OpenAI. The first one will basically summarize the transcript into meeting actions, right? So basically, what do we agree? Like, what was the overview? What do we do? What do we agree, etc., etc. And then it'll basically, for the second module, it's a meeting checklist, okay? So at the end of every meeting, you should have some kind of action steps, right? Like you should have, what is the next step? What are you going to do after this meeting's over, right? Because you didn't just have a call with a prospective client or a client. There's an objective to that meeting, okay? So I want to make sure that AI tells me this, and that's why I've plugged into these prompts here. And then once I'm happy with it, I'll then send it on to Trello. So this last module here, this is Trello. I use Trello for all my project management, tasks, but you can do this on ClickUp. You can use Monday.com. You can use Asana. You can send this to a Slack channel. You can email it yourself. It's entirely up to you, okay? Number 5 in my automations list is a Google Ad report summary, okay? Now, some of my clients actually run Google Ads reports because there are, Google agencies, all right? Now, if you've ever done ads or if you've ever gone through reporting or auditing reports, you know that it takes forever, right? Like I used to do this. I used to work for an ad agency that ran Google Ads, right? And trust me, from my own experience, you needed hours, at least 50, 60 hours a week on top of all the other work that you're doing, right? So think about the work that you need to do. You need to build Google ad campaigns, right? You need to audit campaigns. You need to look at audiences. You need to look at keywords, etc., 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 right? It's a lot of your time. And it's not just one account, right? The agencies have multiple accounts. So what this automation does is it will actually plug in the ad manager accounts from Google, right? Now, these two are identical. The only difference is that the timeframes I've set for this example is 28 days versus the last 2 weeks. And the reason I'm using a CSV module here is because the data comes out in an array. So the simplest way to explain an array is that it actually is a table. It's a table of contents, right? Now, an array is no good to me, right? It's no good to ChatGPT because it's very fragmented, right? I think you understand, like it's a table, it's line by line. It's no good to me. So what I want to do is I want to aggregate it, right? So I'm putting it into a CSV, convert data to CSV module, okay? Which is just kind of built into Make.com. And then this is the kind of secret sauce, okay? So what I do inside of this module here is I've actually built a prompt that will look at the data and audit it, right? Based on my KPIs. Now you can put any KPIs you want in here, okay? So the setup is always the same. I use a developer system role to give it some context. You are a Google Ads report analyst. And then the next message is always a user or an assistant, depending on what the automation requires. For this one, it's just going to be user. And you can see here that I've built a huge prompt. Now, I think you've known this because I've said this on many, many videos that the success of your AI agents is going to be on the prompt, okay? If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out, right? So don't skip this step. Take your time and, really spend some time inside the prompts, right? Now, my prompts sometimes take me an hour, and that's fine because I know the output's going to be amazing. But I've told it to basically analyze both sets of data carefully, comparing the metrics between the last week and this week. Pay attention to key performance indicators such as impressions, clicks, click-through rate, conversions, conversion rates, cost per click, and the return on ad spend, also known as ROAS. Okay, so this account is basically connected up to an e-commerce account that sells physical products. Okay, and then this is how I've kind of set it to basically put the output right. Now, this could be any output you want. You can ask it to audit any KPIs you want. Right, it's very flexible. And then the output goes into Slack. Now, I put it into Slack because I use Slack for all my internal comms, right? And also use it to communicate to my clients. But you can put this on a document, you can put it into a Google Sheet, you can put it into an email, you can put it onto Airtable. It's entirely up to you. The next automation is a YouTube scraper. Okay, so when I create videos like this, the one that you're watching right now, I typically use content that's already out there and I record my own version of it. I transcribe it, I create my own script, and then I'll basically record my own version of it, okay? Building my own automations, similar automations, or something a little bit different, right? Now, I could do this by hand. I've got a lot of accounts that I follow on YouTube, but I don't have the time, right? Because I've got to do a lot of things. So what I do is I actually use a scraper on Apify. Apify, if you've seen my other videos, is my preferred solution for scraping. It's got thousands of scrapers on there, and you could scrape some of the best platforms in the world, including YouTube, okay? So what I've asked it to do is scrape my competitors' channels, and I plug this information into Apify, okay? So the actual scraper is scheduled to run, and I schedule it like once a day, or you can schedule it whenever you want, right? You can schedule it every hour, 2 hours, once a day, once a week, whatever, right? I typically do it like once a day or once a week because I get like thousands of data points that I can use, right? And then I want to grab the data. This is the first module, which is just wait for the actor to run. So actor is a scraper in Apify. Once it's stopped running, you then grab the data, right? So I typically get the channel name, the video title, the video URL, the channel URL, and then the number of subscribers, etc., etc. And I'll show you that in a sec inside of Airtable, okay? And then this is all going to save into Airtable. So this is what my Airtable setup looks like. I've got a channel URL, I've got a channel name, I've got a video URL, video title, the number of views, the number of subs. This is a formula, so this is views to subs ratio, right? And typically what I'm looking for is videos like this, right? Where this one here, it says new AI tool helping me to write actually unique content, right? Now what's so special about this is this channel has 37,000 subscribers, right? But look at the video number of views, right? It's almost 3 times the amount of subscribers, right? So that tells me that they're doing something right. And it could be a combination of things. It could be the title, it could be the content inside the video, it could be the way the video is edited. I mean, there's a lot of factors, right? There's a lot of factors that goes into creating a video, but I'm using these formulas and these scrapers to give me an idea, to give me a handle, something I can work with, because I know that I can definitely improve my titles, right? I could definitely edit them differently. Also, I can look at content. I can see content that's trending or is doing really well, right? Maybe it's content that's on fire at the moment, right? And I can create my own version of it, which is what I'm doing right now. The 7th automation I want to show you is a client meeting notification. Okay, so I get a lot of meetings scheduled in my calendar on a weekly basis, right? And I want to make sure that I don't miss them. Right now, the Google Calendar I use does give me notifications, but sometimes I'm away from my desk or I'm on a phone call, so I might miss it, right? So what this automation does is it basically watches events on my calendar. So this is connected up to my Google Calendar, and what it does is it basically triggers every time something new has been scheduled or been added by me on my calendar. Okay, then the data that it outputs is kind of unformatted, right? The dates are not in the format that I like. The titles, the agenda, it's not really formatted. So I plugged in basically an AI module from ChatGPT to basically format the details. Okay, and I can show you what that looks like. So once I connect it up to my OpenAI account, we just wait for this to load. So just bear with me. And the setup is always the same, right? The first role is always developer system. You are an expert meeting summarizer for Slack. And then the next one is user. So format the following details for a Slack message. The time zone is Singapore, which is where I am. SGT, which is Singapore time. And I want the date in day, month, year. Okay, because I grew up in the UK and this is how we do it, right? I know Americans do month, day, year, but you can do whatever format, right? And the time I want it in this format. Because the time that I've noticed with these kind of apps is kind of junk, man. It doesn't make any sense. So include a nice message that includes the following fields. So we've got the HTML link, description, summary, start time, the display name for the creator, so that's whoever set up the meeting, and then the organizer display name. So the organizer display name is whoever set up the meeting. The creator is whoever's joined on there. That's how they label this, okay? And then the output is again in a private Slack channel for myself, for my own consumption, okay? And I've got a Slack bot that will basically remind me every time there's a meeting, or every time there's 2 hours to go, or like 24 hours. It just gives me personal reminders, kind of direct messages, which helps me a lot because I'm doing a lot of things all the time, right? And then the last one, and thank you for watching the video this far, and this is probably one of my favorite ones, is I've actually automated the onboarding using a custom GPT, okay? And the reason I've done this is because in the past I used to use Typeform, I used to use Typefully, Google Forms, etc., etc. But they're not very robust, right? Like I can put in my name, I can put in my company name in an email address, or I can put my email address in a company name, and it doesn't really catch this, right? So what I wanted to do is I wanted a better system that's more intuitive and something that my clients would enjoy. Okay, so I built a custom GPT for my brand, The Automation Kings, and it basically is, hi, I'm Sanjay's personal assistant, and my job is to help you get onboarded, right? So whenever I send this to a client, they just go click on, I want to start Sanjay's onboarding process, and it's basically a conversation. So you see, this is what comes up, right? So the first name, I'm just going to put my name in there. Okay. And I'll show you how this is really cool when we get to the end of it. Okay. So the email address is just going to be sanj@gmail.com. This is not my email address, so please don't email me. Okay. And it's even intuitive enough that it knows, how much data you put in, right? And I've actually built in a kind of fail-safe, so it will only accept the most popular email domains, right? So that's gmail.com, that's Outlook, and the other one, I can't remember what it is. I think it's AOL or something like that. But Gmail, Outlook is kind of like 90% of the world, right? And then you want to put in the company name, and you'll see why in a sec, why I need a company name. So we're just going to do Sanjay's Automations. And then for the project due date, I've used the American standard, right? Because most of my clients are from the US. So I'm going to do month, day, and then year. Okay, these are the details that I need for my clients to onboard before I can get the automation or the work created. Okay, and this is for most of my automation clients, right? And then the next one is they need a couple more details. The first one is a Make.com account login, right? Because I build all my automations inside of the client's Make account, right? I don't want to do it inside of mine. I used to do that before, but what I found is that the export and all that just takes ages, and it doesn't always work, right? Like I can build it inside of my account, I then export it, import it into the client's Make account, and sometimes it just breaks for no apparent reason. So what I found is if I just set it up initially from the client's Make account, it's just a lot smoother, frictionless, and I can build automations much faster, okay? So we're just gonna use the same Gmail account, and I'm just gonna make up some details here, okay? And so these are the Make, and it basically verifies that. Now, do you have logins for any other app services that we use in the project? So for the most part, I use a lot of app services that are integrated, right? With Make.com does work with 3,000 plus applications and services. So I want to make sure that I maximize the automation and I build it according to their specification. Okay, so if I wanted to, I can actually skip it, or I can just, upload some files, and I can even upload supporting documents, physical documents, up to 10 meg per file, right? And then this is the cool part. And then once you confirm it, right, it will then trigger a webhook inside of Make.com. And I'll show you the second part of the automation. So you just put, yep, this is perfect. You can just put in anything. The client can put in anything, right? It's not actually, it's not that linear, okay? So let's just say this is perfect. And so it's starting an action. So now you can see that it's going to trigger the webhook inside of Make.com, okay? So this is where the secret sauce lies. So I don't want to press allow because it's going to trigger and create Trello boards and all that, but let me just dive right in. Okay, so this is the onboarding automation inside of Make, and this is the last part of it. So whenever the client presses allow, they can always allow, but I mean, they're usually going to do it once, right? So allow is fine. It will then trigger this webhook, right? It's going to send the payload over to this webhook. And then there's 4 modules here, which are Trello. So remember when I said to you that I use Trello for my project management? Well, this is the part of it that it triggers, okay? So the first one is going to create a Trello board. Second one is going to get the ID, okay? Because the next 2 I can't do without an ID. So I get the ID, and then it's going to create a project scope. It's going to upload the Make.com login and the additional files if they've submitted that, right? Now, for the most part, they will submit a Make.com login, because when I sign the contracts with these guys, I want to make sure that I tell them, obviously they know that it's going to be done through Make. They know that they need to set up an account and they need to add a credit card and basically sign up for a payment plan. Then the next module is an OpenAI module. I think you get the point that I absolutely love AI. I think it's the secret sauce in all of this, but this is very necessary, right? I'm not just including ChatGPT for the sake of it. The reason I need an OpenAI module is because I need to format a company name. So if you remember, if I go back to the onboarding, right? My company name is Sanjay's Automations. Well, Google Drive and Slack they cannot accept Sanjay's automations, right? Because it's got special characters, it's got capital letters, it's got spaces, it doesn't accept symbols, that kind of stuff, hyphens, underscores, emojis, etc. Right? Now, I've captured all of that using a ChatGPT module, right? It's going to format and cleanse the company name. Once it's cleansed, I'm going to use the cleanse name to create Google Drive for that client, because sometimes we have to save information into outputs that it creates a file. I need to save that somewhere. Okay. Then the next three modules are Slack. So it's going to create a channel using the cleansed company name. It's going to post the job details. I'll show you what that looks like. So it's got a channel ID, and then it's got the client details. So it's got the short URL for the Trello board. It's got the Google Drive if they need it. If my team needs it. So it's got a web view link, and then it's got a delivery date, obviously, which is very important, right? And then the last one is it's going to high five the general channel to let everyone know that we've signed a new client. So kind of like ringing a bell, when you made a sale. So yeah, that's it. This is my top 8 automations. This is what I use to build my automation agency. It's generating thousands of dollars a month in revenue. It's helping me sign new clients, and it's all automated. Okay. So copy these, take this information. Please, please, please subscribe to the channel. With your support, I can create more videos. I can get ideas for my videos, and you can leave your comments below the video. So like, subscribe, comment below, share the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.